I wanted to show you how to use the online graphing calculator that is built into your MyOpenMath site. So if you go to your MyOpenMath site, no matter if it's Math90, College Algebra, or whatever, you'll see a link here that opens up an area on the syllabus, the forum, calculator, and so on. So if you click on this area, you get a drop-down area, and one of the areas in here is the Working Online Graphing Calculator. If you click on that, it downloads the calculator, and it's good to know how to use this calculator. First of all, it's free. It's a very good calculator, and you're not allowed to go to websites and use some sort of calculator that's not on your site. You can also buy the Casio FX115 calculator, which does all the things that this calculator does, plus a few additional things, but this is a very nice calculator. Now I'm using Google Chrome, and it just downloaded the calculator to the side here. Now if you use Firefox or whatever, it might download it to a different location, but I can click on the calculator and then it opens it. Now to start using the calculator, it says here that you have to press the menu key, and right here is the menu key. So click that, and now we may use other menus later, but right now we're just going to use the run area. To get into any of these menus, you just hit the blue execute key right here. So let's do that. And now we can do all sorts of basic math. For example, we can type in fractions and add them or subtract or whatever you want to do with fractions and so on. So one thing that you might want to do, you don't have to do this, but you might want to make your display show fractions in the correct format. For example, if I type in a fraction now like 1/2, I have to hit the 1, then I hit the fraction key, which is right here. It looks like a fraction, the button does. And then type in 2, and you see how this doesn't quite look like a fraction. It's not 1/2, it's this little symbol here, then a 2. But it does mean 1/2. When I hit execute right here, which is like equals, it tells me 1/2. And I could hit this F to D button, which switches fractions, F, to D decimals. So let me go ahead and do that, and you can see that it's 0.5. So it understands what fractions is. But what you can do is make your screen look a little bit more like a fraction when you type 1 in by doing this. And you'd have to do this every time that you start the calculator if you want to do this. But you hit Shift, you click Shift, and then you click Menu. And that gets you into the setup of the calculator. And the very first area in the setup of this calculator is where you can set your fractions how they want to look. Right now they're in line. But if you set them to math by clicking this word math right here, then they're going to show up in a nicer format. So once I do that, if I just hit the exit key right here, the exit key, now everything you type in is going to look nicer. For example, the fractions are going to look nicer, and you type them in differently. Instead of typing in the numerator of the fraction, then the denominator of the fraction, you actually click the fraction button right off the bat. So when I type this in, I get the format for the fraction that I'm going to type in. So now let's go ahead and type in 1/2. So since the cursor is on the top, I'm ready for the 1 and the 1/2. And then you can see the cursor is still at the top, waiting for you to type in another number, but I only want a 1 up here because I'm just typing in 1/2. To type in the number in the denominator, just use the arrow keys here on the calculator to arrow down to the bottom. And now type in the 2. If I continue typing, it will continue to type numbers in the denominator. But I'm done typing in numbers in the denominator. Let's say we wanted to go ahead and do 1/2 plus 1/3. So I got 1/2 in there. Now I hit the fraction key again and enter my 1, arrow down, and put in my 3. So now that's 1/2 plus 1/3. If I was going to continue any more fractions, I would arrow to the right, but I'm not. And at this point, I can go ahead and hit execute and get the answer, and you can see the answer is 5/6. Now, if you don't format it, like I did earlier by going into setup, then it's going to give you the same result, 5/6. It's just going to not be as pretty as this one is. And you may say that doesn't really care to you, and that's fine. It might be a little easier to understand how to type numbers in if you're in this pretty text format, and also mixed numbers and exponents and all that show up nice. Now to switch this number right here, 5/6, back to a decimal, you just use the F to D button again. That switches fractions to decimals. So that's equal to 0.83 repeating. Or if you hit it again, it'll switch it right back. Okay? let's say you were going to do a problem that involved mixed numbers. Now, mixed numbers is a fraction and a whole number together, like for example 1 2/3. Well, to enter a number like 1 2/3 or a mixed number, you can see that above the fraction button is a mixed number format in yellow. So let's hit the shift and the fraction button, and now you can see where it gives you an option to put in a whole number. Let's say we're going to do 1 2/3. So I'll type in my 1, then let's arrow to the right, and you can see I'm at the top here. So type in a 2, and arrow down to the bottom, and type 3. And let's go to the right, and let's divide this now by another mixed fraction. Let's divide this by, how about a negative? We'll divide it by negative 1. Oop, got to do that formatting. So here, let's delete this a little bit. Now let's put in this symbol right here for the mixed number. So shift this. So now we have, see I did shift the fraction key. So now I have a format to type in a mixed number. So let's type in our negative number, like -1, arrow over, and let's say, I don't know, how about 3/5? So 3/5. So this is 1 2/3 divided by -1 3/5. Let's hit execute, and I get -25/24. Again, if you want this as a decimal, you could hit the F to D button, and there it is as a decimal. If you want the -25/24, which is actually an improper fraction, if you want that to be a proper fraction, then you could take the 24 into 25, which goes one time, with 1 left over. So it's the same as -1 and 1/24. But you can change the calculator to give your answers like that automatically by going into the setup again. So I'll click Shift Menu to get into the setup, and I believe if we go down here, arrow down to 2 to fraction result. See, right now we're in just improper fraction form, D over C. But we can click this, A, B over C, and that will show it as a mixed number if it is a improper fraction. So let's hit execute, and now I think if I hit, I might be able to do just hit execute and get the exact same problem worked out again, and you can see that it gives the answer as an improper fraction. So this will pretty much do all your sign numbers, fractions, operations that you need to do very, very easily by using these fraction keys, either this fraction key or the shift fraction key, which gives you improper fractions, and also changing your mode as you need to show maybe mixed numbers or improper fractions, using the F to D button to switch it back and forth, and here's the value to use negative numbers. So that's a good thing to learn how to use, because if you know how to type it into the calculator here, you'll get the problems right. So let's stop right there.